Welcome to Drummer Mamas. I'm Gemma Hill and I'm joined by my co-host Kira Chinia. Today we are very pleased to welcome Maxie Cheer to the podcast. Maxie is playing drums for music that feels like it's making a difference, touring with artists and activists such as Kate Nash, Jasmine.4.t and Isha. Maxie has had a very busy 2025. They talk to us about committing to and keeping faith in what you're doing, creating space for transgender people in music, and the positive experiences that they have had in helping to diversify the drum industry's artist rosters. But first, here is a ghostly encounter that Maxie experienced in Hamburg. There we go.
So I'm telling you about the gig in Hamburg that I did recently that you weren't able to get to, but yeah, so the main room was fine, good vibes, but then the green room was in this turret that was like a spiral staircase, and as you went further up, you got like less and less phone signal, everything started to get darker and darker, and then at the very top room, the green room had like this bed in it with these silky sheets, and me and the sound engineer were in there, and we consider ourselves the tough ones of the group, so we went in there first, we were good, and then I don't know how to tell you, but the sheets were moving, and I screamed and they screamed, and we left the turret and we refused to go back in, and the management had to go up and collect all our stuff because we weren't going in there. And then after that point, just weird things started happening, like our tech started failing a little bit. My sound on the night, I had everything hard panning from left to right in my in-ears the whole time. It was like someone was messing with me. But Jasmine, the lead singer, tougher than us, and she went up there and she presented the ghost with a tin of Red Bull, and then from that point on she had like the favor of the ghost. She had like one of the best shows, her sound was fine even though all of us were struggling with our ears, and then like the rest of the tour it was just like she had all the good luck. And so by not attending, I think maybe you've avoided this curse, which now I'm not sure what to do. Like, do I need to go get it cleansed? I don't.
Yes.
What does one do?
You need the sage. You need sage.
We are so the right. This could be a whole other podcast. I've had two ghostly experiences, very, very surreal ones.
What does one do?
And I asked a friend as well who does Reiki, she said that I should just speak to the ghost, because I had a thing happen in York. And it was so real. Like, I can remember it. And it was a good experience. Like, it was a little girl. She put her hand on my chest and I felt like I was filled with light. I woke up from it. It was like a dream, but it wasn't a dream.
No.
And the next day I told my friend about it. And I was like, so I had a really weird dream last night. Told him about it. And his fiance, because I was staying with these two friends, his fiance left the room. And I was like, what happened? And he was like, I've been saying for years that at the top of the stairs, I can see a little girl walking from one room to the other in a long white dress. And that was exactly what I described.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No. But I had to sleep in the room again. So that night I was like, it was really lovely meeting you. I'm really, really pleased that we met and you're great. And I'm sorry I'm in your space for another night. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Let me sleep tonight and we're good. And it was all,
and it was good.
All fine.
And it was chill.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think my scream gave me away. On reflection, I did not play it cool. No.
Wow, but I'm sorry you had that experience in Hamburg. That was...
Hey, it's memorable. Very memorable night of the tour. So.
Is this a bunker in Hamburg where there's rehearsal rooms in it? Like the massive...
I feel like, the one that looks like a house that's kind of upside down. It's like bigger on the top.
It's the one next to St. Pauli, next to the football club. And there used to be a big music academy in there and a huge music shop.
Right, yes.
And they've sort of put like a hotel on the top.
Oh. Yeah. Well, no one's staying there, are they?
Haunted one, obviously.
In the turret. Beware of the turret. If you're in there, lovely place, really well looked after, put on a whole spread for us. Like, honestly, no notes apart from the ghost. And that's it. Yeah.
Wow. Maxie, thank you for coming on.
Hi.
Telling us your ghost stories. I would like to ask you about how you got into drums, please.
Yes. So I got into drums by lying about being a drummer from a very young age. I don't really know quite what possessed me. I saw drummers playing. I watched a lot of like You know, like Band-Aid and stuff like that. My dad would have it all taped and he'd watch it round and round. He loved his rock. And so I would watch that with him and I always wanted to be the drummer. And then I just started telling people that I played the drums. And then I was walking around school with the drumsticks like sticking out my pocket. I must have been like, maybe like 9 or 10 years old or something. I remember we had to write a poem about like who we were, and I wrote a poem about how much I love playing the drums, even though I never touched a drum kit. I'd never played on a drum kit. I was very sure. I don't know why. And then my uncle was an Elvis Presley. Well, okay, so he was the drummer in an Elvis Presley band, but they all dressed like Elvis Presley. So he was also Elvis, but there was multiple Elvis, plural. And he had a drum kit set up in like he was also the caretaker of a school, and he had it in the school hall, and he let me have a go. So the first time I played it, I was maybe like 10 or 11, and then that just fueled the confidence. And at some point between the age of maybe 10 and 13, I actually started taking drum lessons. And then I actually learnt the drums, but it's all quite blurry for me, like the timeline. I just know I was telling people before I was I was all talk and no walk for a while.
No, you knew. You must
I
have
did.
known somewhere.
It was destiny. It was
It's happening. It's happening. So I'm curious to know about the education side. Like, who did you go to lessons with? And then I want to ask you about like your big break. Like, when did you feel like, oh, I've kind of made it?
oh. Yeah, so my first drum teacher is someone who I have had lessons with kind of all my life. So I had very like structured lessons with him. He's called John Powney. Shout out John. We have matching tattoos of drumsticks crossed over with angel wings. It's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, I started lessons with him probably around this time, right? Between like 10 and 13, just private ones. I'd have one lesson a month instead of pocket money for a while, because I was a phasey kid and my parents wanted to like make sure that this was not going to just be a phase. But I loved it. And then he became the drum teacher at my school. So I was having private, and then it sort of became part of my school timetable. And then I took music for like GCSE, and I got free drum lessons. And so I stayed with him all the way through. And then I moved to London when I was 19. And since then I've had lots of like little pockets of time with different drummers. I did a year with Colin Woolway. I did some mentoring sessions with Kaz Rodriguez. I've had different drummers sort of that I've gone to for something quite specific. I went and did jazz with someone called Lloyd Ryan, who's amazing. But just like little pockets, but John has sort of consistently been my coach in my corner. I suppose at some point it became more like just giving me phone calls and just like being there for me when I didn't get the jobs, or helping me with practice. At one point, John was just helping me learn how to receive other drum lessons better, because I was struggling with not having stuff written down. And one of my teachers was like not a writer. And so John was helping me to then be better prepared for my lessons with this other guy. He's a bit of a legend. And everyone that I've met who's from like the north of England, like from Cumbria, which is where I grew up, everyone who's playing drums professionally has had some time with John, if not been with him from the start. He was kind of the local hero guy, and he is an incredible touring and like recording musician in his own right. He's also now playing bass for everyone in Cumbria. He's one of those guys where you can't really go to a gig in Cumbria without him being part of one of the bands on the lineup. But yeah, luckily for me, he's been very supportive all the way through. There was times where I couldn't afford lessons and he continued to teach me. So he's the difference, you know, if there was one person. Yeah.
It's interesting what you say about him helping you when you didn't get the gig, because that's something not many people talk about. Like, that's a very specific skill that teachers need to have, isn't it? To help you, to give you confidence.
Yeah, exactly. There was so many times, and like London was a big shock to my system after being in rural little. I was in Kendal, which is like the cutest little town, and it's so lovely and beautiful. So I'm very lucky to have lived there, but there's not heaps going on in terms of live music. You know, the things that were happening, it was John, and then it was this little cohort of students playing. You know, I played at a karaoke night, I played in a church, I played at every school, everything. And yeah, so when I moved to London, I was a bit like, I was a bit of a big fish in a small pond, and then suddenly I was in this really big pond. And I think he knew that was coming. He had the foresight and kind of knew that I would need support most for the first few years when I got here, because it was going to be the first time that I was really sort of competing for work, or having to work full time as well, obviously, and all these other like stressful little money jobs, and living on my own and all of that. So yeah, very grateful that he was there, because yeah, you know how it is in the early days. You really question at times if you're making the right if you're making the right moves, if you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, he's a legend. So was there a moment where you thought, oh, fucking hell, excuse my French, started swearing already?
Right. Oh, there she is.
Oh, I've got this. I'm a drummer. I've made it. Has there been one of those moments?
I don't actually know if there was like one exact moment. Like, I really thought there would be, because I had watched the rockumentaries and they lay it out like you're gonna have that moment, and it's gonna be, this is Wembley. And I was quite naive when I got to London, and was like, yeah, give it like 2-3 years and I'm gonna have that moment. I'm gonna know. But it hasn't been like that at all. It's been like, it has not been linear. It has been this really, and continues to be this very unstable lifestyle, commitment, relationship. It's yeah. And so there have been moments where I have managed to tap into a sense of presence enough to look up from the drums and to depart from the click and the concentrating, and actually realize, oh, I'm on that stage. Particularly like venues I've played where I was a frequent front rower behind the barrier, and then I was like, oh, I'm here, you know. Roundhouse was really big for me, Shepherd's Bush, Glastonbury. Like, it hasn't just been like this really this thing led to this thing, led to this thing, led to this thing, now we're here. It's been a lot of like, ooh, a really amazing experience that, by judging by that alone, I'll be like, oh, I've made it. And then a period of time, almost always afterwards, where there's a bit of a lull and that work moves on, or something changes, my situation changes. And then there's like a resetting and a recommitting to wait. And I think patience has been a huge part of the game for me. I know different people have had very different experiences.
No, I like that. I think, again, it's something that people don't talk about, actually, is after you've had one of these mind-blowing, oh my God, pinch me, and then it's the afterwards, it's almost like the blues that I'm not there, and then you're like, well, what am I going to do now? Or things do change, and then it's like, it is patience and having that knowing and commitment. What you said about recommitting, truth bomb.
It sounds so romantic and like, oh, but it's really hard to commit when you haven't got the work you want on the table and you feel your potential is not being seen. To stay in the game and to keep lifting up other people around you and celebrating their wins, and to trust in this. It's like just such an act of faith all the time. You're just completely trusting that you're doing enough and that things will align and that it will come through for you, whilst watching lots of other people do the same thing and it be a bit random. Sometimes it feels like being in one of those boxes where the claw comes down, and it just, some people it's their year, you know, and I'm just like, whoa, yeah, get it. And it's just not always my year. Like, it's, and then other times I'm like, oh, the claw has chosen, like up I go. But I'm so aware that for other people that's their year of nothing came through, or like the things they wanted didn't happen. And it's, yeah, I feel like we should be talking about it like that, because if people had explained that to me when I first got to London, I think I still would have stayed the path. I don't think I would have made different decisions, but I would have been soothed. I would have been soothed, maybe a little calmer, a little less urgent, which might have ironically helped me enjoy some of the things I was doing that weren't the big things a bit more, because it might have just put a salve on that hunger a little bit. I think the hunger is not always your friend.
100%.
Yeah,
and then it's like, well, then you're not being present, are you?
Yeah.
Because you're like the next thing, on to the next thing.
Just thinking about it. Yeah, exactly that.
And also, if you don't recommit, like you say, and you do something else, then you definitely won't still be in the game for what you wanted to do anyway. So
yeah, a lot of the time it's about just staying in the box with the claw and just waiting and hoping and chilling, enjoying the box.
Making yourself as big as possible to get chosen.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, doing what is in your control, and then really having to do the radical acceptance thing about what isn't.
Can we talk about Kate Nash, the way that she's so brilliantly outspoken about trans rights and keeping that as a topic? How did it come about with Kate, and what's it been like to tour with her so far?
Yeah, working with Kate has been it's had a huge impact on my life. I'm very grateful for it. I am friends with a drummer called Chrissy Lopez. I don't know if you've had her in yet. She's fucking brilliant. I'm friends with Chrissy, and I was covering a few of Chrissy's gigs, and one of the gigs that Chrissy was on was Kate. And so about 3 years ago, I think it was, Chrissy couldn't do a run of festivals with Kate, so I was asked if I'd jump in, and I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like, I love Kate's music. I grew up with that music, and it's great drumming. It's just real enjoyment drumming, real groove stuff. So I jumped in on that, and yeah, immediately got on very, very well with Kate and the whole crew. I became aware that these are people that have worked together for a very long time, and sometimes that can feel a bit like you're an outsider coming in, but it wasn't like that. It more felt like a kind of coming home. It was like, oh, my people, here are my people, which is such a nice feeling when you start on a project, especially as a dep. It's quite rare. So we connected, and Kate and I, having the same kind of like thinky, talky brains, we just ended up having a lot of deep conversations about specifically feminism, and then alongside that, the trans experience. And it sort of it accidentally became this really beautiful collaborative conversation where I was nowhere near as clued up on feminism as Kate is, and there was so much about the cis woman experience that I didn't know and that I hadn't thought about. And I think likewise there was a lot of my trans experience that maybe Kate hadn't experienced before or like heard about before, and it was just an exchange of experience. We were just talking, and then from that we sort of realized, oh yeah, it feels prominent and not necessarily an accident that I think the trans community are made to feel that feminism can be an enemy of its progress as opposed to an ally. And I think it's the same the other way around. I think a lot of strong feminist voices can also be transphobic. They've got a fear of trans people and a fear of trans people delaying their progress, when in actual fact, as a united force, because we are fighting the same enemy, which is the patriarchy and the systems in place that block all of us from reaching our full potential and feeling nurtured. When that union is formed and realized, it just on both sides doubles the amount of players on the field for the whole crew. Like it's a beautiful relationship. There's lots of beauty in that, but it comes from just having conversations. And that then led to Kate sort of writing some essays on how she felt about specifically the intersection between the trans community and the feminist community. And I think she was, as we all are in a way, but she was particularly upset that the loudest voice in feminism was J.K. Rowling, and that she's a transphobe, and that she was so actively using her platform to hate on trans people. And Kate's as the kind of person she is, and with the platform she has and the kind of fan group that follow her, she decided to actively do something in the opposite direction and show verbal and powerful support. And I'm just super proud. I'm proud of everyone in that team for how we've worked together. I've learned so much about feminism specifically and about intersectionality, and it's been much deeper than just playing drums with Kate, though that has obviously been really fun as well.
There was a moment where it was in the press a lot about how she was funding her tour with her OnlyFans stuff, and I wondered what that was like to be a part of, because suddenly it was everywhere about how the music industry doesn't make enough money for people to tour, which we've known for a long time. But
yes,
tell me about your side of that, what you've seen.
Yeah, for me, I just thought it was great. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a really clever way to do sort of two things at once, which was to draw attention, particularly in the government, active attention from people that can make changes, policymakers and things. She drew their attention back to the classism that exists in the music industry and the privatization that's going on of the education of music and how this is affecting artists and the quality of music that we're listening to. She drew the attention back to the imbalance in how streaming platforms are essentially starving artists of money that they would be using to tour, and how that's affecting the touring industry, how that in turn affects all the venues. And she just drew the attention. It's not something that no one said, but like people have been talking about this for a very long time because it's been a gradual decline, I think, for at least a decade, if not longer, in terms of how the music industry is funded and how that money gets to all the different layers of people within it. That conversation's been going on for a while, but Kate just drew everyone's attention back to it, kind of using the media's own technique against themselves, if you know what I mean. Doing something that actually, to me and to her, I'm sure to her and to the people that know her, is not shocking. It's quite normal. I know quite a lot of musicians who use OnlyFans as a different way of making income. I think it's actually quite stable, but it was shocking to some people. It was shocking to the media. So it galvanized attention back onto a matter that's being overlooked on purpose, I think. And at the same time, it was sex work positive. And I think that's another area of feminism that I'm still learning lots about, but one that I think is also talked about less and is also censored all the time and is also really important. Yeah, I feel passionately about sex work being treated as work. I think it's a really good way to make money if that's what you want to do. I don't know why we have such a thing about it. So yeah, it was two things in one, and I was just like, that's genius. And it funded the tour. It fully funded the tour, which even as a principle, as making a point is powerful.
So there was an amazingly brave moment that I saw on your social media channels where you were playing, was it Reading or was it Glastonbury? And I might now have this totally wrong, where you took your top off to play.
It was Glastonbury, yeah.
So the question is like how that moment felt for you and what that meant to play for an artist where you felt secure and safe enough that you could make that statement about yourself.
Yeah, that gig, so we played, this was last year, so 2024, we played at the Avalon stage, I think it's called, the one that's in like quite a big marquee. And I was playing with Kate. It was 5 months post my top surgery. So I've been healing for 5 months. It was a super, super important moment in my personal life. And if that's all it ever was, that would have been already like quite overwhelmingly amazing for me. Like it was the first time I played with my top off. That was something I had on a little tick list when I was going through the motions of saving up for surgery and going through the rigmarole of that for years. I made this little tick list on my phone of things I was going to do when I'd had the surgery. And one of the big ones was I want to play drums with my top off like the boys. It was like, I really wanted to do it. I didn't want to be that guy that always did it, but I wanted to do it like one time. And I just wanted to know because it looks great, right? It looks like, what a feeling. And so for me, that was a personal moment because that was the first time I ever did that. And it felt poignant that it was at Glastonbury, which is one of these full circle moments that I've got to have in my life. And it felt important that it was with Kate because we were deep in the conversations at that point about trans rights and feminism and things. That in itself was just beautiful, a beautiful thing in my life that I'll remember forever. But the way it had impact on other people was something that I wasn't really expecting. And it's been a great honor to keep reflecting on that moment. I'm really grateful that you asked about it because it brings me right back to it and I remember it. And it was just very special. When I did that, there was other people who got up on like people's shoulders and had their tops off and I could see their scars and things, and a few media outlets and things ran stories about it afterwards, and it brought a conversation about the statistics around gender splits on stages and in festivals back into the conversation again, back into the limelight. And I just felt in that moment that I was being a very visible member of my huge, diverse trans family. It felt very special. And I think I was being the guy I wanted to be for little me in that moment, you know.
Wow, that's amazing to hear. That's touching to hear. I'm going to go rogue a little bit and switch my question. It must have felt like a really supportive and amazing moment. And I want to know how that's been for you on socials when, you know, you've decided, you know, being a member of the trans community. Have you felt held on socials, or has it been like this?
I would say, so I had the privilege of having identified as a queer woman before identifying as a trans masc non-binary person. So I was already in that, for good or bad, I was in the algorithm of queer content online, and everything I was posting was predominantly reaching other, I think, queer people. And so I had a bit of a softer landing with it, I think, than if I had come from being a cis straight person into being a trans person online. It's one of those things where the people that matter to me have supported it, and the people that haven't supported it, they just don't matter to me. There's been a few consequences that have been negative from it. I definitely get shadow banned all the time for talking about trans content on there, for reposting stories from other trans people. But I'm not really on social media to build a following, or at least not at this point. So that hasn't impacted too much. And I think I'm quite sheltered by the algorithm. And that has allowed me for more trans people to find me, if anything, and for me to find more trans content and content makers and creators. And it's been predominantly positive for me on there. I'm very aware now that my experience on social media is not necessarily reflective of the whole music industry. For a while, I thought like that, but I've come to realize it's not. So yeah, I've had more challenges in the industry at large, in my real life, so to speak, than I have online.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
It's mainly in the strange thing of gender being a part of what people might be looking for in a drummer, that I've always found confusing. As someone who is not like non-binary and doesn't feel a particular gender quite a lot of the time, this was a always wrestled with it. And it's been interesting for me when I was identifying as a woman. I was shunned from a lot of the sort of dude bro man, the cis man spaces, but it didn't matter so much because I had this community that caught me and that were passionate about supporting me, of other women. There was cis women, and there was this like kind of like looking out for each other thing, you know. There's this nice thing of I'd see people about in auditions, and again the algorithm, we found each other, and I see this thing going on. And so something that was a bit difficult for me to adjust to was, as I came out as a trans non-binary person, that isolated me a little bit from that community as well. And so I now land somewhere in the middle where I'm not receiving necessarily the benefits of sort of the patriarchy and like toxic masculinity in a way, but I'm also no longer necessarily invited into the spaces that are for women and by women. And I think everybody is in a bit of a learning space about this. So I have a lot of compassion for community leaders that are trying their best to address this and get it right. Other trans people make me feel very seen and supported in the industry. And I can see a lot of cis women, including you guys, like making that effort to include trans people in your conversations and in the arms of, and it goes kind of back to what we talked about with Kate, the arms of the feminism and trans community intersection. Like I feel seen and held, but there's quite often a lot of just language, little nuances in language, where I'll be invited to a group chat that's all about networking, and it's specifically for women and trans people, but it will just be called like Girls Who Rock or something. And it's me working out, do I want to challenge that? Of course I do, but then I risk sounding like I'm nitpicking at something that is overall good. I've been invited after all, it's weighing this up all the time, and wanting to build allyships and not begin those on the foot of criticism. But it's really hard because it matters to me. Language matters, I've learned. And I've got other trans people that I mentor or that I work with that I want to make it better for when they come into those groups and into those spaces and things. So yeah, that's been the hardest thing about being sort of trans in the music industry, is there isn't really space anywhere yet for us specifically, which means that trans people have to sort of stick together. But my learning is that we're better united with other groups. So I want to build the bridges, but that's work and labor and energy for everyone. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. It's so important, and I really hope lots of people listen to this episode already just by what you've said. Moving onwards, can you tell me about other artists that you're playing for?
Yes, I've just been on 2 tours with 2 different artists, so I'll tell you a bit about them. So the first artist that I was away with in October is an artist called Isha. She's amazing. When you get a bit starstruck by the people you work with because they're so talented and then they're so nice. Yeah, I got brought into working with Isha at the start of this year. Her music it's very cool. It's like jazz inspired sort of lo-fi. There's elements of disco and funk in there, but we perform just as a 2-piece and we face each other on stage, so we're side on to the audience, which is a whole new experience for me, and it's really fun. And there's a lot of live looping and space for improvisation on both our parts in the performance, which is really exciting. And it's all on sort of click and track as well, so there's this energy of it being tight, and we've worked really hard on it, and we've worked with musical directors and made it really smooth and feel really just like a really strong set. But at the same time, there's lots of little moments in it where my heart rate is going. I have a drum solo. You know how rare it is to get a drum solo. And I feel that really also reflects Isha as a person, in that she wants to share and collaborate. She's a natural collaborator, and it's just really exciting because she's quite in the earlier stages of her career, but it's already just going from strength to strength, and it's wonderful. Like, you can see the music is speaking for itself. We were at a Montreux Jazz Festival residency for a week, which was incredible. We got to essentially be mentored by and be in these sessions with these like legendary jazz players that you just wouldn't otherwise have access to. And it was super inspiring and very intense because I haven't been in like a school day kind of timetable for a while. So it was like, but it was great. And then we did a little tour. We opened for Marcus Miller and played in a few countries. Isha's from the Netherlands, so we play there quite often. So that's Isha. I'm very excited for her 2026. The other artist that I just got back from tour on about a week ago is Jasmine.4.t, who is a new artist for me to be working with. She is just super inspiring. I'm so inspired. I've come back from tour and my body is tired, but like my mind and my heart are just absolutely overflowing with joy, and I feel fired up. She's a wonderful artist. I would describe her music as, it's super dynamic actually. Some of her songs, I'm on brushes. There's a little moment where I play the snare drum, like with the snare switch off with my hands. It's really soft. It's very poignant. It's very emotional. It's beautiful, beautiful classic songwriting, poetry. And then there are moments in the same set where it absolutely explodes and I'm going the hardest I've ever gone, and sticks are breaking, and cymbals are going vertical, and we're shredding. And that whole project it's off click and it's off track. It's just raw and in the room. And again, that's a completely different, it's a new challenge for me because that's how I grew up. That's how I was doing music as a kid. That's my experience. And obviously I come from this dad rock thing. So I yearn. I yearn to play endless halftime with the big fills, but to actually be given the chance to do that in a professional context with other musicians and to do it in a set that's so dynamic and it's not always that, yeah, really powerful. Jasmine is someone who uses her platform for her activism and for the support of her friend Julia Trott, who's one of the Filton 24, who's currently being held in prison awaiting trial. And the way in which she brings that to the forefront and had real impact in supporting her friend I think I'm like forever changed by it, to be honest. It was incredible. So yeah, again, the playing has been great with these artists this year, but it's actually the watching them be themselves and be artists that I feel inspired by and yeah, have taken away the most from, I think.
I find it so crazy and just amazing that you're doing what you wanted to be doing. You're drumming for your job, but you're involved in stuff that's making such a difference. Like they're not just, it's not just a bit of music. You seem to have like everything you do that it's really got a purpose, and it just I find that very inspiring to listen to.
Oh, yeah, I've been reflecting on that this year. It was something that I started intentionally. You obviously can't create the work that comes in for you. I had no idea I didn't know I was going to be working with Isha or Jasmine at the start of this year. I tried very hard to just outwardly manifest more of the same energy I'd experienced working with Kate and working with Bimini and working with Charlie, like artists that activism was a part of their work. It was intrinsic. It wasn't something separate. It wasn't something they did when they came off stage. It was present in everything they did. And that aligned with me so much. But I think there's also just something about people that have that going on for them, people that are engaged like that. There know other people that are engaged like that and know other people that are. So there's an element also of there being a bit of a network that actually has nothing to do necessarily with gender for once, or to do with even a genre. Like all these artists I'm with are in a completely different genre, but they're very similar people and they know each other and they know of each other and they watch each other's content and they support each other's causes and they come together quite often and are on panels and things together. And I think it's no coincidence that I've ended up drumming for a lot of them, because I just align with these artists' politics. I really want to play drums. I really want to be good. I put like a lot in. Like I want to uplift the albums and the art and the whole performance.
Talking of that and bringing the focus back to you and your drumming, you recently joined the Gretsch drums family.
Yes.
What has that been like?
I really, really wanted to work with Zildjian, Gretsch, and Roland very specifically. When I first came to London and I started learning about what endorsements even were and how they worked, I realized quite quickly that was like picking the absolute top. That was really shooting for the moon kind of thing. And a lot of people were like, you should settle for the stars if you land with it, like you should take what. And I had some really lovely people offer endorsements throughout the career, especially like once I started playing on slightly bigger stages, and that kind of comes towards you a little bit. I held off. It was an act of faith. It could have gone really wrong, to be honest with you, but I really wanted it. That was one thing that I was quite specific about. There was lots of elements of my career that I've just gone, okay, I don't know exactly how this will look, but I would love to have this feeling. I would love to have this experience, but I don't know who it will be with, and I don't know when and even where, but I just would love to play 20,000 cap. I'd love to play an arena. I'd love to work on an album that goes to vinyl, like keeping my goals quite open so that I don't get too stuck on the specifics and miss my opportunity to actually achieve the things. But with these, I wanted them. I wanted them initially because they were the brands that I just was truly playing on, and that I really felt were not just like a bit better than the rest, but like just miles better. I couldn't really believe that they existed. The first time I played on like a Gretsch Brooklyn, I was like, this is a perfect drum kit. Everything about it is perfect. But I wouldn't shut up about it. So I wanted it for me. But I also, after doing a little bit of like research and then chatting to people who worked for these companies, I realized that there wasn't actually that many like publicly out trans people on the rosters. And so then it became doubly important that I got it right, and that I felt supported by the companies, but also that I could be myself when making content, and that it feels quite big for me that all three of these companies are supporting a trans artist and are resharing posts and things that involve the trans flag and that involve me, that to me is a signifier of some progress. I like to think that people were working behind the scenes in all of these companies to help that process happen as I was working really hard on my drums and holding off signing with other people. I like to think that the two things were happening at once, and it was a bit of a team effort. There's definitely people I've met in Gower and in Roland and Zildjian and in Gretsch that I've been doing the good work quite quietly for quite a long time to diversify the rosters of signings. And I'm starting to see it trickle through, and I'm just like, come on, everyone. Yeah, it's that time. So that feels great. And I feel, therefore, I can confidently sit here and be like, these are great brands because I have active, positive relationships with people who work for them.
Okay, we are going to wrap up, but I wanted to ask you about Abbey Road and what that was like. Could you enjoy it? Were you present? Tell me.
Yes, that was a day where I felt present. Abbey Road, it has eluded me. I've nearly had the chance to record there quite a lot of times. And then just something would change at the last minute, and it felt like this little game between me and the universe, like, will he, won't he? And then it just couldn't have happened in a more wholesome way. So it was a band called Juno Def, who are a group of friends of mine who came over to London from Sweden and have been grafting and putting out incredible music for a good number of years. And their drummer moved back to Sweden. And so they asked if I would cover on some bits and pieces this year. I was more than happy to. We share studio space. We live on the same road. It's one of those like, my people, very homegrown experience. We wanted to track some drums for their upcoming record. And I had recently made a friend called Steph, who is an incredible up and coming. I say up and coming, but you know when you meet someone and just her wisdom precedes her. Like, she's an incredible mixing engineer and recording engineer. And she was part of the Abbey Road Institute program. It allows people who are on it to access like sort of downtime in Abbey Road to record projects of their own. I reached out to her and was like, oh, I've got to track some drums. What do you say? and Steph was right on it. She was like, yeah, come on in. Let's do a day of it. And so I got my Abbey Road day, and I got to do the picture in front of the thing. It's another one of those things where more and more the sort of bucket list thing, the place or the venue, it's personally important, but it feels deeply important to go in there into that space as a trans person. And Steph is also trans, and so we had that rapport of knowing that we were amongst some of the first people to be doing that work there. Yeah, and it was a really, really wonderful day. And I got to go back a couple more times after that to work with some other artists and things. But I don't think you ever take it for granted when you get to go record there. I don't know, even if you're going there all the time, it's so beautiful. It's such a historic, it's sort of seeped in it, you know, in the history of it. Maybe that's just such a rock dad thing to say. I don't know.
It's the opposite to the Hamburg bunker. So
it couldn't be further.
It's good that I'm glad you had that experience. Yes. Can you tell us what's coming up next for you?
So it is essentially more of the same for me. So I'm drumming for all the artists that we've mentioned on a sort of continuing basis. I have recently started working with a manager for the first time. I've also this year began working as a musical director. And so there's a few projects that I'm involved with as just a musical director that I'm really excited about, because that's a whole new world for me. And then I'm hoping next year to just carve out a little bit more time to be in nature and to do more creative work for myself. So there's a drummer solo project that only gets dusted off when I absolutely make the time for it, and it often suffers because I need to see my friends and live my life. But I'm excited. Yeah, next year I intend to find time to do more of that.
Well, tell us when that's, you know, in the world. Hello.
We're down for the solo drum thing. Sounds great.
Yeah, I have big ideas. I have really big ideas. I don't know how realistic it is to actively create them, but I feel to try.
If it's there, it's for a reason, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
You're the perfect audience for me to float a solo drum project to, honestly.
I
Maybe I'll
know.
just come back here when I
Totally.
need. Yeah.
We're here for it.
Drums.
Thank you so much. Honestly, this has been so special.
Oh, thank you
And
for having me on.
loved it. Loved
Totally.
it.
Even though we haven't been in the same room, I feel like I know you and
We
love
have.
you already. So
Yeah. Aw, I feel likewise.
really, it's so nice to just have. So just like everything you say, it aligns with a lot of the stuff that I think as well. Like, you know, just manifesting and thinking about things coming to you, and you deserve great things, and you know, it's coming to you. It's brilliant. I love it.
It's coming to us all. It's just most of the time we just got to sit back and let it, you know?
Yes.
Sit back and let it come in. It'll be all right.
Thanks for listening to the Drummer Mamas podcast. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave us a 5-star rating because it makes us more visible to other listeners. And we really do appreciate any comments or reviews. It makes a difference. Thanks again, and see you next time.